Hello! So as you can tell, this is not going to be our normal data studio behind the computer, no face to the name tutorial. This is going to be a 4-act tutorial, instructional video, not sure what to call this, but Act 1, the intro, hello, you're here. If you're watching that, awesome. Act 2, the analogy. I've got my backpack here full of stuff to give an example once I get the top of Rattlesnake Ridge right there. And Act 3 is going to be getting everything situated so that you're prepared to do your best work. And Act 4 is behind the computer, showing you exactly how to do it with the tech. So I'm going to be exhausted, but if I'm out of breath, this mountain's why. Let's just hop into it with Act 2, the analogy. There are 4 types of data blending within Data Studio. That's called joining within SQL or SQL if you're a nerd. And we're just going to talk about 3 of them. And those 3 are going to be left, outer join, which I'm just going to call left join, the inner join, and an outer join, right? So I'm going to talk about those 3. I know there's like other terminology. I'll show you in Act 4 exactly how to do it. But those are the ones we're going to talk about. And now let me find a rock to then show you how we're going to do this. Here we have 2 types of trail mix. One, cashews, almond, super sugary cashews, almond, dark chocolate. And here we have cranberry crunch mix. So imagine that we have these 2 different tables in Data Studio, right? 2 separate tables on a page, and you wanted to join them together. Well, how would you want to join them, right? Because this one, by default, has no fruit in it, no fruit at all. We just got chocolate, right? So say we wanted to just add the chocolate from this one to this trail mix. I'm going to join these 2 tables on sugar. And we're gonna say that this is our default table, right? This is the one that starts us off. And so this is gonna be our leftmost table, right? Our left table is this. And we're gonna just say, we're gonna join on sugar. So anything in here that has sugar, we are then gonna add to here. I hope you're with me so far. So right, we're gonna get rid of everything. Nothing is gonna be in this new table unless it has sugar. Boom, right? This is our leftmost, remember brown. The brown one is our leftmost, which has all of the sugar in it. We're gonna open this up and we're gonna add it into our new table, right? Our new table is right here. This is the leftmost table. So we're just gonna add everything from here. All right, left table is now added. So now when you're deciding your right table, right? We wanna only add on sugar, right? So everything that contains, every row, because every single thing here is a row that contains sugar, we're gonna now add into our new table, right? Our new data source within Data Studio. So we're not gonna just pour it in because that wouldn't be a left join. We're just see, look at almond row, nope, doesn't work. So then we have to just find the ones right here, chocolate covered chocolate, right, has things. So we're adding this entire row of chocolate and almond and milk and whatever is in here into there, right? So we're just gonna add all of those to make our new table, our new trail mix, which is just adding, joining on sugar. So that is what we have as a left join, right? So you're only adding the things that match with your unique key, right? And the key that we're joining on, right, is sugar. So the sugar is what we're joining on into this new table. And as you can see, we have our previous trail mix, right? All of it, because it's all going to be part of our new table because it's the leftmost table, right? Everything in the leftmost table ends up in our new table. But then our right table, we are only adding in the sugar, right? So right here, you can see that we're only adding in anything that has sugar in it. We are adding into this new table. And now that is our new data source, right? We've got the previous one, all of it, and then just the rows that matched on the new table. The left join is great when you want to join, say, for example, on customers, right? You want to have all of your customers joined to your CRM data. So you have your Stripe information, joining that to your CRM data, and right again, CRM furthest left because you have every single contact record on there. Then you would be joining just your purchasers to that contact record, so then they mash up, right? But we don't want all the other things, right? If they don't exist, like, we want to add those, so wouldn't be great. Let's talk about full outer join. Advertising. Say you wanted to blend two data sources, right? We got Facebook ads and Google ads together to show you your master ad spend. Well, left join wouldn't work because if you turned off, right? This is our left one. If you turned off this data source, right? So you stop spending money on Facebook. Well, now your Google ads has nothing to join to. Like your trail mix, you're gonna be hungry out on the trail, right? So we're not gonna have anything to join those two. So how do we solve that? A full outer join. And a full outer join, Megan trail mix, is like this. We have one table, our left table, going into the bag, new table, our new data source. And then we have our other one, our Facebook ads, all going in there, right there. So now we have a new data source, which is every single row from both our trail mix A and trail mix B into our new lovely data source, right? So that is the full outer join. So I hope that makes some sense, right? So we've got the full outer join. We're just combining two different data sources, right? We got the sugar trail mix and the fruit trail mix. Boom, new data source, the ultimate data source. Okay. That is a full outer join. That makes some sense, right? You're not doing that with customers. Why would you do that? Because all of the customers wouldn't be there. So now we're talking about the inner join. So now we're going to talk about the inner join, right? So here's our new data source, right? We got a new clean output, and we have our two, right, different data sources that we're blending together. So an inner join is where you're going to take only the things that match from here and only the things that match from here and make them into a new data source, right? So for example, in here, we got nuts, we've got chocolate, we've got almonds, we've got all those different types of things in this here data source. But then in this one, right, we've got sugar, we've got fruit, we've got nuts, all of that. So what are we gonna do, right? How do we join these? So with an inner join, you're picking a join key and only returning all of the rows that have that key into this new data source. So let's just say we wanted to join on nuts, right? So nuts is what we're gonna join on for these two different trail mixes. So what we're gonna do is open up our new data source and we're just gonna grab all the nuts, right? So here, cashew, check. Here, almond, check. Another cashew, check. So it's gonna go through and say we're joining on nuts. So now we're just slowly adding all of our nuts from data source A, which is our sugar data source, to our new data source. Then we're gonna go to data source B, which is our fruit one. And we're gonna all our nuts, right? We got the almond rows, boom, almond rows. We got our peanut rows, right? Peanuts, boom. We got our cashews. All right. And so now we have this, right? Sugar or a fruit data source and our sugar data source. But we created a new data source with just the matching nuts that is here, right? So now we have a new data source that doesn't have any of the properties of the previous data sources as a whole, right? This was all fruit, this was all sugar, but now we have a new data source that's just nuts because we use an inner join. And so in Data Studio, right, we can use these to our advantage in the real world to actually give us useful data sets to work with. So I hope that made some sense. Now we're just gonna talk about how to do this in the real world, right? We got nuts. I'm out here on a freaking mountaintop, trying not to get bit by a rattlesnake. And we're gonna talk right now about doing that. So let me get down from this mountain. Let me then create some data sets so that we can actually use this in the real world. And I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that yet, so we'll get back to it. All right, see you behind the computer. that, we know we have some Facebook ads. We're gonna also have some manual entry data, like if you had a sales team. We're also gonna factor in some hard cost data. So we're gonna basically take all this information and blend it together. And that is the beauty of blending in Data Studio, is that you can really start to ask deeper questions of your multiple data sources, which nearly every business has. Most businesses are quite siloed. Even large companies that are doing millions of dollars a year are extremely siloed in the cases that with the clients that we work with. And that's what we work with, is we try to make them unsiloed. So I want to hop into a quick demo of showing you like what we need to have in order to make this work. So let's just hop right into that. So here we are looking at a handy dandy diagram. And so the thing that we need to know is that you're gonna have multiple data sources. So let's just call this our CRM data. This lovely CRM data could be your customers, maybe you have a sales team, all of that type of information. Then we are going to have, let's just say, for example, we have our Stripe data, which is going to be, let's just say, transactional, let's just say Stripe data and transactions. Okie dokie. Next, let's just say, for example, we have user data from Google Analytics. So the thing that we need to remember is our good old example around building out our trail mix. What we need to do is we need to have a unique key. So our key is going to equal something, right? We have to have something that is basically tying these together. So what do the CRM data and the Stripe data have in custom? So we can use, for example, the key of email address. So for example, here we have the information of the CRM data and the Stripe data. Both will have an email address. So that's what's going to tie them together. So now these two can speak to each other, and then we will decide on how we want that relationship to work depending on the type of blending, the type of joining. What we're going to then layer in here is, what if we then have another example of Google Analytics data? Well, we don't have it. If we don't have anything that's tying them together, we might have to use something that's more universal. So in this case, the key might just be the date. So this would tie, for example, your Google Analytics data to your Stripe data. Again, maybe not the best case scenario, but it would work. So we need to work on making sure these keys are very, very clean. For example, what if the CRM key, right? CRM key of email address, we're just gonna get rid of these for this demonstration. What if the CRM key was uppercase? So what if it was super cool guy at Hotmail, right? And what if the Stripe key was lowercase? So if we over here look at this and we look at our Stripe key, and what if it was like super cool guy at hotmail.com? Well, we might have a little predicament there. So we're going to want to make sure that these are clean and the join can take place in the most succinct way possible. So that is what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through now inside of Data Studio of kind of building out these use cases, because frankly, this is like what we're going to have to look at is the types of joins, but I wanted to really focus on these keys. These joining keys are going to make your life so much easier if you can understand that every single data source that you're blending, right? CRM1 and Stripe 2, every single thing is reliant upon this key. So without further ado, let's hop into Act 4, where we will build out something inside of Data Studio, showing you exactly how to do this. Okie dokie, we now have everything set up, ready for us to get to blending. The first thing I'm going to show you is where in the world blending is, and how it kind of works. Then we're going to hop into the different use cases. So I'm going to get my ugly mug out of the way. We're going to go straight 100% hardcore nerd right now. So please, if this is too fast, watch it in 0.75 speed so that we can really show you what's going on. So let's hop into it. All right. So how to blend. What we're going to do here, there's several ways to access this, and I'm going to go into all of them in depth. The first one, under resources, you can go to manage blends. This will pull up a modal situation where you can add a blend. And what this does is it allows you to simply come in here, select what you'd like, and you can pull in your dimensions and metrics that you'd like. So for example, if we were going to have GA4 be our blend, and we were going to have the date, and we were going to have the total users, and then we'll have the event count, etc. So this is kind of the blending panel. We'll see you'll have, this is the data source with and you can name this actual table. We then have the dimensions, we have the metrics, and we have the date range as the core kind of three pieces here. Then we have filters, and we're going to talk about filters in a hot second, but filters are also super important to know. And then you're probably asking yourself, how do we add another table to this? And you click this little button that says join another table. Then let's just say we're going to do another one of these situations. We're going to have this up and running. And when you go to configure join, this is where you start getting into panic mode because you're like, which one do I choose? And I'm going to be frank. Basically, you like every single use case either is left join or full outer join. Everything else, don't use it that often. If you can understand left join and full outer join, you will be off to the races. Left and right are just flipped, but again, if you just don't confuse yourself and keep things to left, we will talk about that in a hot sec. All right, so now that we know at least how to build a join this way and build a blend, what we're going to do is going to do it a different way. I know, crazy. And this is my kind of preferred method here, is you can add charts. So let's just say, for example, we have chart here with our GA4 data, and then we're going to have a chart here with our Google Ads data, right? And say we have beautiful, I don't know, impressions. So here, if we wanted to have really simply, we have number one, let's just say we've got our Google Analytics data right here. And then we have number two, we've got our impressions data right here. What we could actually do if we want to is you select one and then hold shift. You can see I'm holding shift and select the other, or right click, and you can have blend data. It's going to be the very bottom option. If you select blend data, what's going to happen is it's going to blend it for you in the background and not tell you what's happening. But what's going to happen is it's going to give us this number divided by this number. It even gives us a function right here. But behind the scenes, which is what we're like at the end of the day, we all want to know how it's working. It just created a blended data source, what we just did, and it's using cross-join. Again, not a bad thing, just something to remember is which type of join do we want. So now let's go into some actual use cases of how this works. So let's go into a good old left join, right? So this is where we're going to start to get into an actual use case. Let's look at the CRM days in system to transactions. So basically, imagine we have a CRM. We then want to know how long they are in our system before they actually give us money. Well, let's add some data. So I've got this demo data. It is 100% fake. We've got Stripe transactions, fake email addresses, fake names, and we've got an active campaign email list with fake emails and fake names. So we have all these beautiful fields in here, all this information, and let's just hop into Data Studio and add these as data sources. So all you have to do is go add data. We're going to select Google Sheets. We're going to then select our user demo data, super fake. And we are going to then select our active campaign email list. and we are going to hit add. It will take a quick sec, but it will add that data to our report. The next thing we're going to do, okay, there we go. Ta-da, it's added. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add another data source on our Google Sheets, and we are going to add the exact same situation. We are going to add our Stripe transaction list. And let's pop back over here. So here you can see our active campaign. We've got a date that this user was added to our active campaign email list, the first name, the last name, the company name, an address, city, etc. This is a kind of standard CRM information. And then their email address here. And we have some other stuff as far as like traffic source, traffic type, like some maybe HubSpot, more specific information. So let's hop in here and let's start building out something that's actually useful. So I want to know how many days did it take for them to actually buy something from us? Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to add a chart. This is kind of my favorite blending method is I'm going to add a chart here and I'm going to add a chart over here. So we're going to copy and paste this. We're going to add that right over there. And this left one, we are going to turn into our, our actual user data, right? So here, if we look at this is our transaction list, if we hover over that, and then this one is our email list. So let's add our email list. And here we are gonna have our date added. We are then gonna have the email address. Let's see what else we got. What else do we need to have up in here? And then let's add in the tag, right? Tag over here. Just if there was some tags that you had that were actually useful, you never know, right? So then I believe it's just called good old tag. Okay. So what I'm doing over here is I'm just validating that this actually works, right? Because the last thing you want to do is you want to have something where you're like, you think it's working, but then it's not. And this is kind of what we'd expect. You can actually get rid of record count if you'd like to. That just confirms there. So we've got our date added, our email address, and our tag from our CRM. And I'm just gonna add a text box above this so that you can see the CRM data is right here. And let's make it a pretty color. Let's go with purple. All right, so now we've got this CRM data right here. We are then going to work with our Stripe data. So I believe this is 100% fake Stripe data. And what we need here is we want to know their email address, right? We then want to have the transaction date. Actually, let's keep it the same format. Let's go transaction date, email address. Let's go with the product they purchased. And let's go with the transaction ID. It's always good to have a transaction ID just to keep you, make sure that you actually know what you're doing here. And again, let's get rid of that record count. So here, you can see we've got now two separate data sources, and let's make this one our beautiful Stripe data, so CRM data, and then it's gonna be Stripe. I feel like every single platform now is blue, so we're gonna go with something else. Let's go with green because that's where the money happens. Okay, so we've got our transaction date, we've got our email, we have our product, we have our transaction ID, we have the amount, and that should line up with what we're seeing right over here of our transaction list of our fake data. So now let's just see what happens if we go ahead and blend these together. So I'm gonna just select this one, hold my shift key and select this one, right click, and we are gonna say blend data. And what will happen is it's going to smash them together however it thinks fit, and we're going to go over here and edit the data source. So it tries its best to figure out what is happening, and it actually is getting better and better. Like it knew to do a left join right here. It did a left outer join, and it used our key of email and email from table 1 and table 2. So let's go in here and make it clean. So here we're going to have the table name as CRM data, and we'll have here as Stripe data. This is a fairly new feature, and I love it. So then here we have all of those fields because we made sure that we had that, and then we have all of our fields over here because we wanted to make sure we have had those, and that's why we created those tables first. We are keeping the date range as auto because we want to be able to adjust that with an actual filter. And then we're going to go over here to our far right and we're going to rename this. And we're going to call this our, I don't know, I'm going to call it days in system report. And it's going to be a blend already. So I'm going to just put it in parentheses of CRM over Stripe. And that way I know that CRM is on the left and it's Stripe. And again, we know that that's there. Okay, now let's hit save. And we're going to come down here. And what we're going to do is we are going to scroll down our page. We are then going to make sure that our page is tall enough that we actually have some room to work here. Under our layout settings, let's go to height and let's just make it big. Let's go to 2000. All right, so now let's work in here. So the biggest thing we want to know is the days in system. And I want to know how long it takes someone who buys to then purchase. So let's create a new field. And you cannot create a field at the blend. I know it's dumb, but we're going to create a field at the actual metric. So I'm going to create a new metric here. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a field and we're going to use a function called a date diff. And what we're going to use is we're going to use the date difference between, and like also just keep in mind, it goes x minus y. So we want our biggest number first. So our largest number is going to be the transaction date. So we're going to do transaction date. And then we're going to do our date added. Capital date, DATE underscore added, parentheses. And we're going to call this DIS or days in system. Hit apply on that and pray to the GDS gods that it works. All right, and now you're like, whoa, it's not working. And the reason why it's not working is because it is a left join. So we're getting all of the CRM information first and then joining this to that. So how do we solve for that? Couple of options. Option one is we can add a filter to remove the nulls. That is one option. Option number two, preferred option, is we're just going to sort by transaction ID. So instead of sorting by email, we're going to just grab our little grabby grab and go sort by transaction ID. And look at that, everybody. Do you see what we have here? Is we have our days in system. So this is taking the date added from the CRM data. This is then taking the Stripe data, which is the transaction date, subtracting the two and giving us the actual days in system between the transaction. I know, mind is blown. So that is how it works. It is super, super powerful. What we can actually do is take this table and we're going to clean it up a little bit so we can actually have something that's a little bit actionable. Let's get rid of our email because that doesn't matter. Let's get rid of the actual date added and the transaction date and the transaction ID. So now we just have the tag of how they entered our system, the product they purchased, the amount that they actually purchased, and then the days in system, which is actually being summed. So if we wanted to even do this further, let's add this amount down here and turn this days in system into an average. So it's actually averaging instead of adding them all up. So now you can see that people who come in through the white paper who purchase product widget 1, on average, give us $2,737 and spend 231 days in our system. If we wanted to, we could then sort here by days in system and see what is the fastest method that people come in. And you'll see right here, webinars, purchasing widget 1 or widget 2, and the come in for this amount, but they're the fastest entry into the system. So that is a left join. We're taking this information and we're tacking it on to that CRM data. Hope that was helpful. Now let's hop into an outer join. An outer join, and this is where you can kind of get really, really confused, right? So what we want to do is here in the outer join is let's go build up our little resource manager and manage blends. So here you can see we've got blended data 1, days in system. What did we even use that for? I don't know. So let's add a new blend. So here, what we're going to do is we are going to create a new data source as this data blend that we want to get our total amount spent. And so what we're going to do here, let's discard these changes, is we've got here, let's add in our Facebook. Is this a text field? No, it's not. Get rid of that thing. Get rid of this. And we are going to come in here and we are going to use a Facebook ads spend. We also want, oopsie, we are a Facebook ad spend. We are also going to add in our sales rep commission. And then we are going to also add in our like hard costs. So if you have like hard operation costs. So here we can get a single page that will have all of the costs associated. So let's go ahead and build us a little mini dashboard. So let's pull this up and let's add in some fields. So if we go in here and we're gonna basically add some data, what we're gonna do is go back to our little Google Sheet here, our handy dandy Google Sheet, and we are gonna go into hard costs. We're gonna add that. Just so we know what we're looking at, let's hop over to the Google Sheet and we're gonna look at hard costs. This, we have the date, we have the number of hours worked, we have the rate of which that contractor was working, and then the total amount that was worked, and some lovely notes here if we wanted to have some notes. We are then gonna have our sales rep commission, which we're gonna add next. So let's add another data source. And let's add our let's add our sales rep commissions. And that looks like this, where we've got a date, we've got the sales generated, we've got the commission, okay? And you can see here that the dates are not in like every single day. We then have the hard cost, which is literally every single day. And we are then gonna have Facebook ads spend, which is also volatile. So the thing that we're gonna run into here, this is back to our little spreadsheet, our Google diagram here, is if we take this same model, we go over here, and if we join, for example, our ad spend to our commissions, the problem is that if we take our key right here, and we make our key between these two different things, the date. The problem is that the commissions do not have every single day spend. So it's possible that on May 17th, that there is ad spend and there is not commission. And if this Facebook ad account gets turned off, there is possible, like if, say for example, we pause the campaign, it is possible to have commissions that are not on the same day as there's ad spend. So using a left join of joining this to this will not work, because what if there's no date there? So here is where you want to say, whoa, what if we do right join? Nope, not going to work. What if we use something that's a cross join? So a cross join looks for both and returns every single combination. So I'm not sure why I put outer here, but we're going to look at cross joins first. Let's rename this to a cross join. So in this cross join, what we're going to do is we're going to add in those spend, that commission, and the hard operation cost. So let's just add it in using our beautiful tables. So here, let's put this in here. Let's swap this over to Facebook ads. And we will see the just giant amount of spend that you'll see. We've got date. Let's then just use amount spent. And then we're going to basically add a new chart while that's figuring out. And you can see we're just spending bonkers amounts of dollars on that for this demo. We are then going to swap this over to our sales rep. And we are going to use in here, we're going to add in the date. We are going to have this as sales generated as a metric. We are then going to have commission which I spelt wrong, but it's cool. And then we are going to have our hard operation costs. So let's add that in here. So now, I believe I just have hard, there we go. So now we've got date. We then have our, let's just add them all in. We're gonna have the date, number of hours worked, the total amount, and let's also put the rate in there. And we can put these as metrics. I'm not sure why I'm putting them in as dimensions. All right, so here you can see that this is May 19th, the rate is this, commissions generated there. So let's see what happens if we select all of these, right click, and then go into our blending. And let's just see what Google does. Sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it does something wonky, but that's why we want to know exactly how it's working. Okie doke. So let's go in here, edit this. Let's rename this to our spend. And so here you can see that it did a left join, and that's that beautiful thing. So it's going to try and join this to that, and then this to there. And we are going to see about what's happening. So let's change this up. Let's do a cross join. And let's see what happens. So a cross join, if you didn't realize, is that it basically returns every possible combination of rows from the left and the right tables. So every single combination is going to be returned regardless of if there is a match or not. So let's use a cross join and see what happens. Boom. So here, let's just say we wanted to have a, right, May 1. Oh wait, let's do one more thing on this blend. We forgot to even do it. We got spend. We're going to rename these. We're going to have Facebook ads. We then have sales, or I'm just going to call it com for commissions. And here is hours, or hard. Let's just call it hard. We've been rocking these numbers, so here we go. So now theoretically, we should be able to sum all these total costs across the board. So let's just see what happens. So if I delete that, I know I'm getting real technical here. We're gonna add in a scorecard. I'm going straight to a scorecard, and we're gonna put in our Facebook ad spend, so amount spent. And let's just check, and amount spent is what we're looking for. And you can see here, if we sum this up, add in show summary row, is that we are wildly off, right? And this is the point of what I'm trying to show you here, is that we use that return every combination of everything. Amount spent is wild. It should be 36. We spent 19,818. So that is why I don't like the cross joins. So let's go into this one. We're gonna use a full outer join. So returns whether they match or not, right? And then here is every possible combination. So a little bit of a variation here. Again, just wanted to show you the difference here. And let's change that. And then let's change this to a full outer join and put in the date. And let's hit save. So this is going to give us the, there we go. So here, this is going to give us the correct amount. Now I'm confusing my own self here. So here you can see that we renamed this to cross join. We're not doing that. We are doing outer. I don't remember why I named that outer. And so here you can see that 36.1 cent is correct. Let's do the same thing for our commissions, right? Which should be the same. So let's add in our summary row to both of these. And let's do the same thing for our hard operation cost, which is going to be the total. And that total should be 16,170. So now what our question is, right? This is where most people would like to know, is how much are we spending every day? So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new field, create a field. Let me just duplicate this. we are going to go in here and create a new field that is going to be sum of amount spent plus sum of commission, incorrectly spelled. And we are going to do plus sum of, oopsies, sum of total. And this is going to be our master ad spend, our master spend, total company spend. Let's hit save. And it should be somewhere on the lines of 26,000. Whoa, hey, right there. So here you can see that we are right there. So now what we can do is come up here, click on edit of this thing. We are going to change it from a number to a currency. Let's just use US dollars. Hit apply. And now we have a total company spend. So that is an example of how to use the outer join. Okay, now let's hop back into the last inner join, and I'm just gonna go really quick on this because it frankly never is used. Let's grab all of these again. And say you wanted to know, for example, of when all of these, let's go here, right click and blend. Say, for example, you wanted to know of when all of these are spending money on the same day, we're going to call that like the trinity of spend, for lack of better terminology. So what you could do is come in here and we're going to go like this, and we're going to go to inner join, and we're going to join table 1 to table 2, and we're going to hit save on the inner join, and we're going to do this also on inner join. So now what we're looking at is when table 1 and table 2 and table 3 have spend, then it will return them. So I'll show you what that looks like. I hit save, hit close, and bada bing, bada boom. Now you can see May 7th, May 14th, May 30th, May 21 are the only days where all 3 of these have spend. So that is it, folks. That is the blending masterclass for how to use blending in your everyday life. I gave you some examples, I gave you some ideas, and hopefully I gave you some execution actionable pieces in this long video. So we covered the outer joins, right? Of if you wanted to sum your total spend, right? We covered your left joins when you want to join the CRM. You want to take the Stripe data and smash it into the CRM data, just like we did with our trail mix. And we have our inner join where we're only matching when it is applicable. So I hope this helped you. I hope that you have at least a little bit to go off of. And if not, feel free to join the email list over at datastudio.vip/cheat sheet, where you can get yourself some beautiful cheat sheet that allows you to hopefully make the best dashboards you've ever made in your life. Guys, this has been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Feel free to subscribe if you've made it this far. If not, high five. The best part about using a video with nuts is now you have tax-deductible snacks on the way down.